Okay, thank you, Nicole. My name is Manuel Castro. I am very happy to introduce you to Xabier Tudanca. Xabier Tudanca was the leader of the implementation in the Satuerca 10 years ago. 10 years ago is a lot of time in the demand-driven journey because this was the first implementation of Europe. In that time, there was no any implementation in Europe. And this was the first one. This was a very successful implementation. The general manager of the company supported the project very well. And in 3 months, from April to June, July, we did all the implementation. After the summer vacations in August and September, we went live, and the rest is history. I would like to give all the protagonists to Xabier Tudanca because he's the man of the project. Xabi, you can tell us what happened in that time, okay?
Okay, thank you, Manuel. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, everyone, for being here and listening. Well, first of all, I introduce myself again. I'm Xabier Tudanca. I was 10 years ago very new in the company. I have the chance to start in logistics and purchasing department. And I work for Satuerca Group since then. Okay, I will try to shortly introduce what kind of company we are. Satuerca Group is basically we will do a company overview, then we will go through challenges prior the implementation, what results we got, what challenge we had after the implementations, what did we learn, and what were our future plans. And then I will show you briefly, shortly, some buffer examples, okay? Who we are. We are Satuerca Group. We are a forging company for the automotive sector. 98% of our products are for automotive sector. The machines we have, they are Hatebur forging machines. Hatebur forging machines are quite special. They are horizontal forging, and what they produce is around 140, 160 parts per minute. So we work with a lot big batch as well. We have as well some heat treatment, some machining. We think we try to be a quality leader for we have a high capacity for development and ongoing innovation. We are since 1966. This is a little bit how, since we started, since I started working here, it was 2012, how many tons or kilograms of raw material we have used during the following years. We've been growing in the first until 2018 in a very, very fast way. We implement the demand-driven in 2012, for all of you to know, and since then, we've been following our purchasing, raw material purchasing, and our production with this methodology. What we buy, raw material, is steel, is bars of steel from diameters from 19, let's say, to 55 millimeters biggest. We buy from steel companies. They are huge monsters in comparison to us. Let's say we buy, the forecast for this year is to buy 30,000 tons, and what they produce, each supplier can produce nearly 1 million. So we are really little for them. So we have to be quite good by telling them what we need and pressure them in order to get all the material on time. They are steel companies. I don't know if you know some of them here in Europe, but we buy as well from China, from Shenzhen, a huge company. and that is our buying scenario. Then in units, in sales, we buy, let's say, around 90 different references from raw material. And in sales, what we sell is around 500 different references. And when we started, we were selling around 50 million parts per year. In 2018, we got a record is 95. Then, well, here it happened: Dieselgate, COVID, semiconductor issues in the automotive market. I reckon if you are in that market, all of you might know, at least in Europe, I reckon it was the same everywhere. And then little by little, since COVID time, we've been again increasing even our purchasing, our raw material purchasing, and our sales. What we have is 7 category machines, and for incapacities. This is a kind of, let's say, a route, or what are the processes that we have to do in order to make a finished product, okay? What we buy is rolled bar. Then that rolled bar, we heat it around 1200 degrees in order to be able to introduce it into the category machine, in the forging machine. The forging machine automatically cuts part of that bar in determined measure. Then with 3 strokes or 4 stations, we get the finished part. Then we do some blasting, heat treatment, machining, inspection, storage, okay? This is one example. And our main products are gears, bearings, clutch bodies, special nuts, or cams. Totally automotive, everything for the automotive. In terms of percentage of sales of each family, bearing rings and gears are the biggest ones. Then we have the hubs and cams. Our main customers for bearing rings could be MTN, SNR, for gears, Renault, for example, Volkswagen, for cams, Mahle, ThyssenKrupp, for hubs, Schaeffler. Then our market, we deliver out of Spain most of it, to Europe mainly, to France, Germany are our main countries where we export. Then what we see here, Spain 10% is for most of it for Renault, and Renault is, the decision is made in France normally for all the purchasing. So we say that 10% of Spain could be as well in France. So what challenge we have prior the implementation, okay? Well, first of all, my story is I finished university and I started working for Satuerca group. And they offered me 1 year later the opportunity to take the position of purchasing and logistic department. The guy who was before me, he was working for Satuerca for 46 years, more or less. So he was expert in what we do, in how the market is, and he didn't even need IRP or Excel file. He didn't need anything like that. He was planning by head, by experience. So when they offered me that challenge, that opportunity, I said, okay, I'm super young. I have no expertise in the field. I have no idea. I'm not going to be able to do it the way he does it. So I said, what did we learn at the university? MRP, Excel files. I'm going to place everything on Excel file in order to try to deal with the orders, with the to fulfill all the orders that we have and to plan the production, okay? So we started using Excel. Excel is an amazing tool that only the guy who does it, or who, let's say, who is going to program that Excel is going to know exactly the results, how they are going to be and why. It was really useful at the beginning, but we were always having the same issue, and this was our situation. Okay, we have that the customers, they send us a forecast, 6 months, 1 year, 3 months forecast, and then they send some orders that could change every day. Some of them, we have consignment stocks there. Let's say it's like going to the supermarket. They go every day, they take the parts that they want and they need that day. The next day they do the same. They send us the, okay, you can invoice this amount of parts, please refill, okay? That could match the forecast they have or not. They are going to take that day what they need, whatever what they said from the forecast. Then there are other customers that we have to send weekly, monthly, and then we have the problem with the raw material. As I said, what we buy from huge monster companies. We are super little in comparison to them. And the steel market, the steel production is like a big elephant, really, really slow. Okay, so sometimes they have, if they are if they have a lot of work, let's say that it could happen that there are big delays in raw material. And so that was from one side. We have that they are not going to meet 100% what we order, and we have to order, in this case, 4 months in advance, but we don't know what we are going to sell tomorrow. So to match what we say, what we have to ask with the production needs, it was challenging. I said, okay, if all the customers, let's say all the customers are crazy, they do whatever they want, say, I'm not the only one who is going to have that problem. I'm sure everyone is blaming the customers that they don't meet the forecast, blaming them that they do whatever they want. And probably someone has a, let's say, a solution in order to adapt your production with the meeting the orders in this scenario. So I started looking, and I was first looking for some kind of software that would be more flexible, more agile than just an Excel. And looking for that, I saw I think it's called white paper. I think it was back then called like that. And there was a PDF, I downloaded, and they were just explaining what I was living in this position of client. I said, okay, our suppliers, they don't deliver on time. Our customers, they do whatever they want. I have all the time planning urgencies, let's say the thing that I produce now, they don't want it, but they want something that I have to produce in shorter than the normal lead time. And I found that white paper talking about demand-driven MRP. I said, well, this is quite interesting. I continue reading, I called general manager, I said, Luis, I think we might have found some kind of methodology, a software could help us in daily to manage these problems that we are facing every day. He told me, okay, call them, tell them to come here and to explain to us. So we called Manuel at that time, and I think the first day he came, our general manager told him, you're not coming here to tell me anything. We are going to buy because we believe in what we are reading and we think it's going to work. Definitely back then, we have no example where to go and see, okay, this is working, how is the software? We were the first one in Europe, but we were quite convinced of what Manuel said, of what we were reading about the methodology, and we said, okay, let's try it. And that was why we started our adventure with demand-driven technology. About the implementation process, as Manuel said before, it was really, really fast. We started in May, and by July it was finished. And let's say that the bottleneck was our IT department. That was the main problem. In order to, back then, to say, okay, from the ERP, we need to find this data and put it in this column, and this is the quantity. That was the trickiest part. Since then, I can tell you that we haven't had any software problem in this case, we were using a Replenishment Plus. It was like, we were afraid, okay, new software problem, there are new software program, there are always probably some software problems that we are going to have, we are going to call, we are going to get a new supplier, new problems. Believe me, 10 years, I haven't called demand-driven technology in order to say, this is not working. It's been super, let's say, fiable. I don't know how to say it in English. We can trust them in software-wise. Well, I forgot to tell you that when I was reading the paper, I was amazed. Like, it's like someone has been into my company and realized all the problems we have, and they are putting a solution to this. I didn't believe it at the beginning. It was like, is this magic, please? So we're quite excited to know if this was going to work, and it does. I'm going to give you some different kind of customers that we have to, let's say, program or to know the different characteristics of each of them in order to then adapt our buffers or production to the different characteristics. Okay, let's say customer A, we have a daily forecast for the next 3 months, but then we have daily consumption, what is real order 1 day in advance. So with 24 hours, they are going to tell you, I want 100 of these reference, you have to have them ready. If I want 1,000, you have to have them. No matter if I did an order in the forecast, the week before, or whatever. This is what we want. Every day, you have to have everything that we want, and you are going to deliver. The forecast prediction wasn't as bad. The lead time we had at that time for this kind of references was around 10 days. And the raw material and finishes, and we have buffers, strategy position in the raw material purchase and the finished product, as we need to have ready what they want tomorrow, or lead time in 10 days, for sure that you are going to position your buffer and in the finished product. And then we have a customer B, what was the biggest lead time process. Why? Because two plants were involved, 2 processes, the forging and the machining. So this customer weekly sent us a forecast for 6 months, weekly forecast. Okay, then they have a consignment stock, and this is what I told you about the supermarket. The goal they take, you have to have certain limit of amount of parts of each reference, because if tomorrow they go again, they want to do the same thing, whatever they take. Then the forecast precision is quite bad. Our lead time back then was 20 days, and they were really crazy for us. Let's say big spike orders. Suddenly they take what normally they consume in 3 weeks in 1 day. Then you have to put new parts there because just in case they want again more. It was really crazy to manage that before the demand-driven methodology. What results we got after the implementation? Well, we got incredibly reduction in changes to plan. So the machining capacity improved. It was curious because back then, one kind of family of product, in this case, the product for the customer B, we were selling more than ever in the amount of number of parts. But the feeling from the workers, and that was our main customer, the feeling from the workers was like, it seems that this customer has reduced the orders because we don't feel that we are running to produce because there are urgencies. That was, they used to come to my office asking, and they were worried like, is the business going right? Because we are not driving, you are not driving us crazy in order to meet these customers' needs. And I said, no, actually, what we are doing is selling them more than ever. And they were amazed. And that was a result of the implementation of the methodology. Then we managed finally to to say, okay, this week we are going to plan this production in each machine, and it's going to be fixed. Let's say we are not going to need to change that every day. What was happening before due to MRP problems, that not everything is going to be perfect. Then before, with the Excel files, they were big Excel files. Let's say once you want to update all the information inside, you are going to spend a long time. So you are going to do that once per week in order to have a new picture of the planner. In this case, with Replenishment Plus, Intuiflow, or whatever software you use, you get the software updated with new data every day. So every day when I get to my office, I open the software. I say, okay, this is the stock level for each part. And what we see there is an update. We see the updated of the consignment stock. So our, let's say, our reaction to any change has been improved from 5 days to daily, and is going to be so fast to detect a new need to produce or to do something. Then our facilities are used in a better way. So our level of service, it keeps the same level. We didn't have any problem with the level of service. That wasn't our aim, to improve it, because it was really high. But in order to get it, we were driving ourselves crazy. Now it's a lot more calm in order to get the same result. Then our stock levels, okay? We thought for sure with this methodology, our stocks are going to go higher. Why? Oh, because we are going to find new positions for the buffers. The buffer is going to control some position for the stock. So we thought that. Then what we found is that our stock is available for all the production that we require. And I'm going to go deeper in this part with the customer B. Is the best example. That was our main customer. Remember, the customer that had the biggest lead time. I'm going to go deeper there. What we have is before, that was we have the forecast for the next 3 weeks. Our lead time was 20 days, so we have to check that, check the stocks for each part, put in how many parts they are going to take per week, and say, minus, we have to produce 3 weeks before. Okay, you produce, you start the production, 2 weeks later, before the parts are finished, you see that, oh, what we produced 2 weeks ago, now they don't want, but they want something that they didn't ask before. So call everyone, we need to produce this suddenly, urgency, change the production, change the planning, let's put this into production again. What was the result? That the bad forecast was making us have a stock that we didn't control, that we didn't want, and that wasn't available for what they wanted. It's called bipolar. Maybe Manuel, help me with well, that graphic that you see there. And we were all the time with urgencies into the forging and into the machine. Bipolar, I think it's called bipolar stock. Okay. What happened? What we changed? We changed, first of all, our mentality. From the forging point of view, our customer was the customer that the company has. But we changed that. Now, for the forging company, the customer is going to be the machining company. And for the machining company, the customer is going to be the actual customer. We are going to strategically put some buffers in strategic positions. One, raw material, as we need 4 months in order to get material. We need to buffer that. Then we are going to set up a new buffer just before the machining plant. And then another buffer into the finished goods at the warehouse of our customer. That way, The input for the forging is going to be how the buffer before machining works. And the input for the machining is going to be the changes from the customer. We thought if we place a new buffer before machining, our stock is going to increase. That was our thought. It seemed logically, but results were totally different because after implementation, after 2 months, we really got a reduction of stock, big reduction in 35%. Our stock was quality stock, what we need. Then the lead time was reduced for 20 days, for 10 days. Why? Because the machining plant has always forging parts before the machine. So when the customer wants new parts, we just take it from there. We don't need to start all the process since the forging. So the reduction is 50%. There were no more urgencies like before. The noise that was produced from bad forecast from the customer has been reduced so much. Now the production keeps running in a soft way in order to produce what in the end the customer needs. And the capacity for facilities increased by using them for what we really needed. We weren't producing something that they were not going to buy anymore, or that they are going to stop before it's finished because suddenly they change the forecast. So the quality of our stock of our inventory was really high. Since then, what kind of challenge we have after 2013? It's been a long time. Well, as I showed you before, we were increasing a lot in a really fast way. But in order to make that, we bought new machines. Hatteburg machines is forging. In order to put it in place, this is the kind of hole that we have to make in the factory. So that means that we need a long time in order to implement any change. We didn't have a lot of space. So apart from buying new, in order to buy them, the existing ones, we have to move them inside the company. Move them means more than 2 months without the machines. And we were in an increase. So our challenge was how we keep this high level of production, how the customer is not going to realize of anything, and we are going to increase our production by getting new machines, but changing all the layout. This was a challenging year in 2015, I think it was, and we got 3 machines out of 5 moved of layout change, and 2 months with the machines stopped selling on really high levels. Then we had new projects, new processes, and we live different situations with the steel suppliers. This automotive sector is challenging, it's really interesting, you don't get bored because there is always new challenge to face for sure. What we learned and what were our future plans, okay? The importance of the flow. If you keep the factory running smooth without driving everyone crazy, their job, they are going to do it a lot better. That is going to result in a better quality, better capacity, better productivity. In the end, you produce better everything, and that is you're going to see that in your accounts for sure. And then how our philosophy or our idea changed of what is the real demand. When Manuel came here and I said, okay, I have to buy 4 months ahead raw material, 4, sometimes 6, depending on the market of the steel. How are you telling me that now we are going to forget of the forecast? Unless there is a spike, what they explain, we were like, I cannot forget from the forecast if I have to buy 6 months ahead. I need to see something. They said, don't worry, the buffers are going to tell you, they are going to manage your purchasing, they're going to manage your production. We were scared, like, suddenly I don't mind what they tell me by the every week by a forecast. I don't mind it. I'm not going to look at it. I'm not going to take it into account as I used to with the Excel file that they just copy per week, how many parts they are going to take. And this is going to work. Yes, well, until you don't see it, at first we didn't believe that, but eventually you realize it makes sense. It makes sense how the buffer works. It makes sense when to take the forecast into consideration, when not. But it was a really mind change. And then, let's say in this company, it's a little company. We are around 200 workers. I'm the only one in the purchasing and logistics department. What happens if I get it? What happens if I leave? Everyone is who is going to know to, let's say, before update the Excels, to plan the production. It was quite tricky. To get someone to know that. But with this kind of software, you secure your process because it's so intuitive. It's really, really easy to see what we have to do today and why. And for example, to get a new new worker to do this job is what you need to teach in order to keep running the production is a lot better. It's a lot faster. It's a lot easier to make that know-how change in order not to be affect anything in the company. And that is the case. Last year, I started teaching a new planner. In a month, he was able to plan the production of the company in less than a month. And little by little, let's say your process is secure this way. Just to get to the end, I'm going to put some buffer examples. I don't know here if people know exactly how the software works or what you have to check, but it's really fast to know what you have to do today. What you have to do is, okay, we need to produce new parts. Which ones? Do you have to review all your references in order to know all the stocks, how they are, what do we have to do? No, it's really intuitive. Let's say you have red, yellow, green. Okay, red and yellow, this is what you have to do today. The rest is fine, forget about it. So your work as a planner is really, really fast to know what to produce. And then you have to always, you bet in a buffer. You make a bet, you put some percentages, you say you need to check if that is working correctly or not. And it's easy to know how the buffer is behaving as well. I mean, it's not good to be in the green area every time that you need new production, you are in green area. That's not good. You need to get to the red, go up. Yes. And then checking your bets and the history of that buffer, you check, okay, what we put here in order to produce is working. And the buffers are dynamic. It's not the same if we are increasing or we are decreasing the sales. The buffer is going to be adapted in order to the real demand. And well, basically, that's it. So thank you everyone for your attention. And I don't know who is going to talk now. Maybe Nicole, Manuel, help me.
Yes. Xavi, can you put the buffer to tell some things about how to size the buffer, please? Here,
this one.
This one is okay. Here you can see the difference between the green zone, the yellow zone, and the red zone. The general manager told us he wanted in the forging 1 month of batching. Why 1 month? Because they have big setups and more or less the 1 month of the part of the consume the demand of the 1 month is about the life of the tool. They have a consumer tool that you need to operate the forging, which means what's a policy of the company to have 4 weeks of the green zone. The lead time in this case is 2 weeks, and you can see the 2 weeks of the yellow zone, and one week of the red zone. This worked very well, and I don't know right now if you are keeping more or less the same size of the buffer in this kind of client, but you can see in a lot of implementations that we did in these years, this is very good lesson. Ask the general manager how big he wants the yellow zone because the batching. You have to know one thing. These are very cheap parts. The price of these parts is about one euro, more or less than 1 euro, no?
Yeah, depending on the
It's,
weight mainly, but could be 3
is
euros or 20 cents, depending.
is very cheap part, which means you have to be very efficient, okay? See, batching here is a must because it's amazing. And one thing was very funny about the result of the implementation is what happened in the company. When we finished the implementation, some people approached to general manager and asked, "What is happening, Luis? What is happening?" Nothing. Everything running well. We have demand because we have the feeling that we don't have demand. And the general manager told the workers, "No, the past month was the best month of our history." And the feeling of the workers is there is no demand. And why? Because the replanning was finished, so no more stop go. No, but because with in the old way, with the forecasting always urgency. With the big setup of 4 months, they won 20% of capacity because no the reduction in setups for the urgency, which means it was a must, was a plus of the implementation. So very easy to planning, very good results, and 20% more capacity because no urgency, no replanning, no a lot of much less setups. And this was an amazing lesson, okay? At the same time, another question it was, what happening with the forecast? Because I receiving the forecast for the client, and this webinar is about automotive industry. And today, 10 years later, it's happening the same. All the clients, the Volkswagen and the end clients, the brand cars, okay, they are using the same policies, the forecasting, okay. And what is what I remember, for example, we working with Michelin and in the implementation, this was a big obstacle. What we have to do with the forecast? Okay, is nothing to make the production plan and the purchase plan. You can use the forecast for another things. How much capacity you need more, how much people, how much, but the big thing, but no for details and the planning, production planning and the purchase planning. This was another lesson that we learned from the Satuerca implementation.
Yeah, it's Eric here. Yeah, I think the point you're making, Manuel, is absolutely on point. We've seen in our other automotive clients where you continue to see from the OEMs to the first and second tier suppliers the same kind of amount of variation week over week. So that meaning for a given production week, in the weeks preceding that, the volumes will be up, down, and it's, even though there's this perception that it's a very well-oiled machine and everything is very stable, in fact, in point of fact, it is a very, very volatile signal. And I think what Xabier's been illustrating here is the ability to insulate yourself from that volatility and get better control of your own environment so that the workers get concerned that there's no work, but in reality, their life is getting better because you've introduced more stability from a planning and production standpoint.
That's it.
Yes.
Well explained, Eric. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Xabier, one question I had for you. There's been a lot of coverage in the media around the supply constraints in the automotive industry, right? People couldn't get cars. In the US, the dealership inventories went from an average of 60 to 70 days down to literally single digit numbers, and you couldn't find vehicles. And it appears things are getting a little bit better as we go forward. But what were the impacts that you saw cascading to your business relative to, because the big thing was the chip shortage. They didn't have the chips to put in for the engine controls and things like that. But how did those impact Satuerca's business?
Well, in 2021, that started happening with the lack of semiconductors, in this
Yeah.
case. What we suffered is suddenly one customer said, okay, in 2 weeks, don't deliver anything. Yeah, they were changing orders by email saying, whatever you just put it in the delivery note, just cancel because we are going to stop the production for the next 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And that was changing a lot depending which was the customer. But there were a lot of stop, now yes, no.
Yep.
That was tricky during 2021. 2022, it was interesting because everyone had the forecast, no? You see the forecast, you see, okay, for this year, but wait, maybe they are going to be stopped by semiconductors. Month by month, we were afraid that, okay, maybe next month is going to be when they are going to stop, maybe next month. But during 2022, everything has run a lot more smooth.
Mm-hmm.
I think that and for the moment, our first trimester in this year has been the best trimester in our history.
Mm-hmm.
In
Awesome.
terms of production. So I think the situation has improved a lot.
And what's your expectation going forward? You continued improvement? You think they're seeing more stability as we go forward then? I've been waiting to buy a car is why I'm asking.
Okay, it seems so. Here in Europe there was a war suddenly, so everyone was afraid that, okay, the market is going to stop for 3 months. Then the energy issues with the cost of energy say, okay, maybe the car producers, they're going to produce so much as the energy cost is so high. So every year has been a disaster thing, but for the moment, it keeps a lot better. The energy is dropping as well, the energy cost, the semiconductors issue is a lot more control. So our forecast is good for the next years.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate your participation. I don't know, Nicole, do we have any other questions out there?
No, I think that's it.
Well, then, Xabier and Manuel, very much appreciate your sharing your story. It's great to have had you as a customer for so many years and that there's continued success and benefits. Maybe we'll have an opportunity to see each other face to face if I get over to Europe in the next few months. But thanks again, everyone, for participating. As a reminder, we're going to run another automotive webinar on the 11th. This one is going to be more focused around some of the other unique automotive aspects, like how do you synchronize your signals with the EDI network that you're working in, some other things such as planning calendars and other elements that we've developed into the software that are really good solutions for the unique kind of just-in-time arena that you work with in the automotive industry. So again, we appreciate everybody's time. There'll be a recording, I assume, available for all of you and a copy of the presentation. And hopefully you'll be able to rejoin us on the 11th, and we'll continue to help you on your automotive demand-driven journey.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.